gentlemen, the ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. We have a short video outlining all of the great events these cadets have been part of over the last 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At any time throughout this ceremony, you're welcome and encouraged to move from your seats to take photographs, but we ask that you keep social distancing in mind. Please ensure that all electronic devices are off or silenced. If you are participating in today's ceremony, you may remove your mask, and you may remove your mask if you are currently vaccinated in accordance with the new CDC guidance. Thank you. Distinguished guests, family, friends, and cadets of the North Carolina State University Army ROTC Battalion. On behalf of Lieutenant Colonel Will Cunningham and Master Sergeant Angel Torres, the Wolfpack Battalion welcomes you to the Spring 2021 Army ROTC Commissioning Ceremony. The purpose of today's ceremony is for each cadet to receive their oath of office, conduct the pinning of the bars, and execute the coveted first salute. Today, we will commission 16 cadets who will soon stand before you as the newest second lieutenants in the United States Army. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the playing of the national anthem and the invocation given by Cadet Tuttle.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for this ceremony that brings us together. Throughout our nation's history, you have raised up strong and courageous men and women to lead the way in defense of freedom, willing to put their lives at risk for that freedom. We give you thanks today for raising those commissioning, as well as their family, friends, and cadre who have supported them and will continue to support them on their journeys. Be with us today as we celebrate our graduation and entry into the officer corps. May we honor you. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The Reserve Officer Training Corps, ROTC, is the largest officer producing source in the United States Army, with over 270 host college and university programs across the United States. North Carolina State University is one of the oldest Army ROTC programs in the country, dating back to 1894, when the Department of Military Science was first established. The Army ROTC program was officially established in 1917 and has since commissioned more than 2,500 officers into the United States Army. At this time, we would like to ask all veterans and those currently serving in the military to please stand and be recognized for your commitment and dedicated service to our nation. I would now like to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Will Cunningham, the Professor of Military Science.
Right, good morning. This is truly a great day for everyone in this room and for our nation for sure. So distinguished guests, family and friends, past and present members of the Wolfpack Battalion, and everyone that's participating with us virtually today, thank you for your attendance. I want to start off by recognizing our university leadership. Although they cannot be here with us today, I want to thank Chancellor Dr. Randy Woodson, as well as the entire North Carolina State University Division of Academic and Student Affairs team. They are led by the Vice Chancellor and Dean, Dr. Donica Scott, and the Senior Associate Vice Chancellor, Dr. Lisa Zapata, who are fantastic supporters and partners of this Wolfpack Battalion and the Army ROTC mission. So thank you very much. This has been a year unlike any other. I am extremely proud of everything the Wolfpack Battalion has accomplished during a difficult and dynamic time in our nation's history. For the 16 cadets commissioning this morning, this day is the culmination of 4, in some cases 5, years of hard work, dedication, commitment, and sacrifice in the pursuit to prove they have what it takes to become the Army's next generation of leaders. Undoubtedly, none of which could be accomplished without the love and support of their family and friends, who I know many are in the attendance with us today. So let's give yourselves a round of applause. To the NC State Spring Commissioning Class of 2021, I am honored to have been a part of your training and development. Along with my fantastic team of cadre, I will look on with pride and confidence as each of you take the oath of office and are pinned by your family and friends as the newest second lieutenants in the United States Army. I have 2 thoughts that I'll leave you with. First, there is no greater responsibility than that of leading America's sons and daughters. Second, know your people. Only through truly knowing those you seek to lead will you be the leader they deserve. Now, it is my honor and privilege to introduce our guest speaker for today's ceremony, Major General retired William Kirkland. Major General Kirkland retired in 2008 following 33 years of dedicated service to this nation in the United States Army. He was commissioned in 1976 as an armored officer. From what I'm told, is the best Army ROTC program around.
That's right.
Here at NC State University, where he received a bachelor's degree in engineering operations. Major General Kirkland served in leadership positions at every echelon in the Army and commanded at the battalion, brigade, and division level, including his tenure as the commanding general of the 84th Training Division and senior mission commander of Fort Knox, Kentucky. Major General Kirkland's operational experience is extensive and includes deployments to Iraq and regional countries in Southwest Asia in the early 2000s. Since retiring from the U.S. Army in 2008, Major General Kirkland has held executive positions in both the public and private sector, including Chief of Police in the city of Sunfield, Michigan. Major General retired Kirkland has also dedicated countless hours to the mentorship of Army institutions and veterans organizations, and we are grateful for his continued service to the Wolfpack Battalion. Please help me in giving a warm welcome to Major General retired Kirkland.
Lieutenant Lee, can you hear me in the back?
Yes, sir.
Outstanding. I normally don't hang around the podium here. I'm kind of a pacer. So I think I got enough voice that I can carry. So you can hear me in the rear. If not, raise your hand and I'll try to speak louder. Let me just start out by saying, I stand before you as a total abject failure. Because from what I was told from my high school guidance counselor, I probably wasn't going to do much more than ride the back of a trash truck. But I didn't listen to that, because they had no clue of what I was capable of. Only I was capable of telling me or telling them what I could do. I never, ever accepted failure as an option. My dad was airborne. Back in the day when we had Pathfinders, if you remember those days, there was something about jumping out of an airplane with a chainsaw strapped to his body that he just relished. And as a kid, I enjoyed that whole thing too. But enough about me. Congratulations. I bet some of you never thought you were going to get here, did you? Because I know I didn't. Okay. You know, I have enough experience here to tell you that 45 years ago, tomorrow, I sat where you sat, okay? I had no clue of what life was going to do for me, but it did have some things that I'd like to share with you. First off, if you recall those frat parties and those frisbee throwing days that you used to have out there in the brickyard and all those places back on the campus there, you can forget that because that's almost over. Okay? All right? I remember some really good frat parties down there on Frat Row back in the day at the Sammy House. Six Sigma Alpha Mu, I think, is the name of it. But they threw some really nice parties. Okay? Really nice parties. So let me just talk about some things here, and we'll get you squared away. In my class, there were, I'm going to say, about 17 people. 4 of them have passed on. I'm going to go ahead and just take a minute here and recognize them, Colonel Cunningham, if you don't mind. First, there's Lieutenant Colonel Major Promotable Mike Cowley. This is his beautiful wife right here. Major Walter Cummings, Major Steve Duke, and Major Chris Simpson. Those are the guys that graduated when I graduated, and they're no longer with us. They're buried up in Arlington or other places around the United States. But they came into this country as citizens, and they gave their all for that. And I'm going to tell you that I have been in some places where I thought I was going to give my all, but that's okay. I would have willingly done it for this country because I believe in the American dream. I've had some dreams in France one time, but that didn't count. More importantly, when you take on the oath of office here, you're never going to leave it. When I left the system, they didn't say, hey, Kirkland, remember that oath you took about protecting the country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and bearing true faith and allegiance to the same? We're not going to relieve you of that. I still believe in this country. I'm not too fat. You might have to time me with a calendar on the PT test now, but I can still do it. I can still do it. Now, with that in mind, let me say that when you enter into the Army, your position in the Army is a function of what piece of cloth you wear on either your chest or your shoulders. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of things that are up at the upper echelon because chances are you ain't going to be making no Army decisions in the next 2 or 3 years. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that, okay? But I will say that what this country provides is opportunity. If you look around the world, you don't see anybody else trying to beat their way into Mexico, and I'm not trying to get political here, but when you think about it, they pass through Mexico, and where are they coming? To the United States. Ain't nobody trying to beat their way into Canada that I know of. But I am going to say to you that you are our best and greatest hope for the defense of this country. That's what I'm going to say to you. And there's a good chance that some of you will be combat veterans before you reach your captaincy. And that's only about maybe 36 to 48 months from now, if you keep your nose clean. Now, let's talk about keeping your nose clean, okay? I just talked to you about the frat parties. All that's gone. You can forget that now. It's just a faint memory. Be careful what you put on these devices, okay? Be careful what you put on. Because guys like me, we could get away with it back in the day because we didn't know what a cell phone was. All right, we had TA312s. You remember those things? Are you cranking? And the best that we could do then is hope that the things we saw on Star Trek were gonna happen. In fact, they have happened. If you think about it, you know, you flip open your phone and you communicate with Scotty up on the bridge. But those days are gone for you. And luckily, that's a good thing too. When you get into the Army, you're going to find that there are a lot of things that you're going to be responsible for all of a sudden, okay? The very first thing I recommend that you do is to get a hold of a good, strong NCO, okay? And if you're lucky, you'll be in the same brigade that your dad was in, but I got lucky. I never could figure out why I couldn't get off on Fridays and Saturdays and be with the boys and girls over at the O Club. That's because I had a good, strong dad that knew that if I was gonna make it in this Army, I needed to be trained. So he told me, son, the first thing you do is go up to your platoon sergeant and say, hey, platoon sergeant, I don't know nothing, teach me. Good NCOs take a lot of pride in saying, hey, that's my lieutenant over there kicking butt. Or that's my lieutenant that is now the XO. Or that is my lieutenant now who is the acting CO of a unit. Times have changed. When I came along, Vietnam was winding down. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think on 1 July of '73, the draft ended. I could be wrong on that. But what I did is I listened to my dad, because you don't get to be old being stupid, okay? You listen to him, and I hung around my NCOs. In fact, back in the day when we had NCO clubs, if you remember those days, I was known as Sergeant Kirkland many a time in the NCO club because I had an affinity for NCOs, because I took care of my soldiers. My handbook that I used was a book called Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun. If you haven't seen that book, I highly, highly encourage you to go buy it. It's only like 13 bucks. That's a 12-pack nowadays. But that'd be the best investment that you can make. Get a copy of Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun. I think it's written by Dr. Wes Roberts. The other book I'm going to encourage you to get is a book called Dress for Success by John T. Malloy. Those books are going to help you in both the civilian and the military side, because the Attila the Hun book, the leadership secrets of that, will tell you how to think like a soldier at the lower enlisted ranks. Not that they're any better or worse than you. They are your soldiers, and you deserve to give them the best, or they deserve to get the best leadership from you that you can provide to them. Now, in saying that, I'll just go out on a limb and say, too, that when you start to become a part of a unit, one of the things that's going to happen is you'll be going to meetings. Frankly, I don't want to be in any kind of unit where the commander or the senior civilian are the guys that love to go to meetings. I just don't like meetings. But you have to understand that if you're not at the table, you're likely on the menu, okay? Now, the other thing that I'll take here is let's look at the Iditarod. Do you know what Iditarod is? That's the race between Nome and Anchorage with the dog sled. I'm just going to say to you, take advantage of that and look at how that whole thing is orchestrated. If you think about the dog sled team, there's only one lead dog, right? Now, if you're not the lead dog, the scenery is never going to change. Okay, if you think about them other dogs, you can imagine what they're looking at for the whole time that they're out there, okay? You gotta want to be in charge. One of the things I love doing was being in charge with the NCOs and helping to make this country better. I love this country. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that so that I don't end up on the 6 o'clock news. But having said that, if you have an ability to affect the change of somebody's direction here, you will make a change in that person's life, I can guarantee you. You're probably going to be about the same age as some of your sergeants and privates and corporals and specialists that are out there. You can't become friends with them because you might have to do something to order them into a dangerous situation. And while we're talking about that, I understand that this country is craving leadership right now. I'm not going to get into any political discussions, but you're the best hope of this country right now. You just are. Those and the folks that are graduating around the country. Okay? Now, let's talk about a couple of things here, too. if you are in a unit where you're given a task, the commander is probably not going to be real sympathetic to your labor pains, okay? Get it done. We don't care about your labor pains, we just want to see the baby, okay? You're going to get all kinds of duties, as I just said. You're probably going to have some duties that you've never heard of before. Get a book and read. One of the best books you can read is FM 100-5 Operations. Is that correct? I think so. Okay. 100-5. And as an armor officer, I got real familiar with a TM. It was FM or TM 100-10-1. And because I was a cavalry scout, I knew that when I was going someplace, I need to have what we call 35 millimeter back in the day. I needed class 3, which is POL, class 5, ammo, meals, and medical. I didn't care about the 5-paragraph operation order because frankly, very few of these well thought out operations ever successfully get past the first 30 seconds. Okay, because the enemy has a vote in a lot of that. All right? Now, having said that too, there are some things that you also need to know, and I'll just go down and I call them Kirkland's corollaries, okay? So I'll just talk about here. Your early Army career expectations will determine if you stay an assistant for 33 years or 33 minutes, okay? Growing old is mandatory. Like Lieutenant Lee back there in 1976, I had nice, pretty black hair. You can see what it looks like now. But growing old is mandatory, growing up is optional, okay? I've already said that you're not going to be making any division or Army level command decisions, so don't worry about that. Lesson 5, if you're the lead, be the lead. Make a decision. Make an informed decision. Let me characterize it like that, because a lot of decisions people make sometimes, they're just what we would call, can I say rectal extraction? No? Okay, well, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. Don't be pulling nothing out of no places, okay? If you don't know, get a hold of somebody that does know. Because NCOs are probably going to be your best asset here. It was not uncommon for me to say to my Command Sergeant Major, what do you think here? I make a real good officer, but I don't make a real good NCO. And he would say, sir, this is what I think we ought to do. All right? Bring him in. Let's deal with this and get it over with. And that's how we command. Okay? If you find yourself in a predicament, the first thing that you want to do is stop digging, okay? Go to your NCOs and say, hey, what's the deal? And they'll tell you pretty much the real deal, whether you want to hear it or not. You know, being raised kind of on a farm, I think the farmers say it's easier to plow around the stump than to try to go over the stump. Just keep that in mind. Number 9, you don't get to be old being foolish. Remember, life isn't fair. And I would say that no matter how good you are and what you did in your 4 or 5 years here at state, bad things or some unfortunate things are going to happen. How you handle those things are going to be the basis by which Lieutenant Colonel Cunningham and the cadre here will determine whether you did real good or you did real bad here, okay? So, life is a gift. It's not a perfect gift. It's not even gift wrapped, but it still is a gift because there's a lot of folks that would rather not have, perished in combat, but they nonetheless are not here. Some days you're going to be the pigeon, and then some days you're going to be the statue. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay? Don't worry about that. Because, like I said, some days you'll be the pigeon, and then you'll get to do something for other people. Okay? Keep in mind, the wheels of karma grind exceedingly slow, but they grind exceedingly fine, okay? A little anecdote here. As a young major, I was up in the Chicago area, and I got a phone call one Saturday morning that says, hey, Kirkland, get up to see the chief of staff, okay? And I went up to see the chief of staff, and he says, I want your paperwork on my desk for squadron command by close of business today. And if you know what squadron command, that's the equivalent of a battalion. As a major, I'm asked to do this, okay? The reason I was asked to do this is because the guy who violated some of the 6 principles I'm trying to talk to you about now, no lying, no cheating, no stealing, no deceiving, no defrauding, and no discriminating, he violated a lot of that stuff as a squadron commander. Part of that was intended to affect me, but as it turned out, he was relieved of command, and guess who took his squadron? Okay? It can happen. But I'll also say to you that your rank and your position in that particular organizational structure is rarely going to exceed your preparation and your ability to lead. So if you are in charge, be in charge. You never know who's watching, okay? You just never know. So as it turned out, I got what they call a unit vacancy promotion. So that's part of the reason why I was accelerated out of the system, because that's a good news, bad news story. You can go up, but because you are at a rank, in the way that this Army is structured, you've got to either keep moving or you got to go out. Again, I got lucky. I got blessed. So having said that, let me just say that if you just stay close to me here, and if you want, when this thing is over here, I'll give you my email address, and I can send you a copy of Kirkland's corollaries, and hopefully that'll help you. A wise officer never confuses motion with action or unit enthusiasm for capability. If you look back at the history here, in the first half and the 2nd Armored Division were going at it to determine who was the best on Fort Hood. There was a guy named George S. Patton, the 4th, I think it was. George Patton went against a guy, I believe his name was Julius Beckton. General Beckton held his own against a lot of things that was going on because he was smart enough to understand that your unit capability does not equate to a pep rally. I mean, we can get Rangers in here, and we can have Rangers, you know, do all kinds of things. They can scream and they can shout, but it's still, screaming and shouting does not equate to capability. Getting close here, guys. Don't worry about it. Getting close. Trust only those that have as much to lose as you if a mission goes belly up. Okay? In other words, trust but verify. There's a lot of things that go on in my life, even to this day, that happened to me because I didn't verify. I should know better, but still things happen. Okay? The next point I'll make is he who gets you or puts you into some Sierra Hotel India Tango is not necessarily your enemy. And he who gets you out of Sierra Hotel India Tango is not necessarily your friend. Because a lot of times, your senior officers are going to put you in a position to see what you do. Okay? They want to see how you respond to a little bit of pressure. Because the system is trying to replicate itself. I replaced somebody who eventually got out, and somebody replaced me when I got out of the system. So as young lieutenants now coming up, keep in mind that you got to grow where you're planted. You might not want to be what you are now as your branch, but when you go outside, look at the brickyard out there in front of the place. You'll see trees growing up in between the bricks. Grow where you're planted. Okay? There's things out there that are going to be meant for you, and I'll just tell you that when I went into Iraq, I made my peace with God, okay? So if I came back, fine. If I didn't come back, it was also good. But whatever you do, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what happens, take God with you. Whatever you perceive him or her to be. I'm not trying to be political again here, but I take great solace in figuring out that there is a God who takes care of guys like me. Because theoretically, as I was telling the folks at the table last night, theoretically, I should be dead. Because I was stationed in Istanbul, Turkey, and court-martial on a Friday afternoon. One of my guys decided to take the court-martial in lieu of an Article 15. Because the judge decided that the court-martial could be concluded by that Friday night at 9 o'clock, I missed the bus going into Istanbul. The bus was ambushed. Everybody on that bus that I was supposed to be in was killed. Everybody. So had I gone on that bus, I wouldn't be here talking to you. So that just shows you how close you can come to danger or death and not really know it. The same thing happened in Iraq. In the wrong place at the wrong time, some of my guys were killed. And I buried 19 kids in this fight between Iraq and Afghanistan. You'll probably have to bury some of yours too. But we do what we have to do. Because when this is all said and done, we are Americans. We're American soldiers. Okay? You volunteered as an American soldier, fully realizing the hazards of your chosen profession. And by your thoughts, actions, and deeds, you will always uphold the high esprit, honor, and courage and commitment to this United States. Okay? I haven't been released from my oath, and chances are when you take yours in a few minutes, you're not going to be released from yours either. As I said, you might have to time me with a calendar on the 2-mile run again here, but I'm still fit to squeeze the trigger. And I'm ready to get back into uniform if I had to defend this country. I hope I have said something to you that will get you through this tour that you're getting ready to undergo. I'll be available sometime if you want my email address. I'll make myself available if Colonel Cunningham is okay with that. I'll make myself available to talk to you even when you are on active duty. Because you're not going to see too much that I haven't seen, and I can tell you how to stay out of trouble. Okay? I love you guys. I would go to war with any one of you right now, and I never met you. But I love this country, and I'd be willing to fight with you to defend it. Okay? Godspeed, God bless you, and I would trade any moment of my life just to be in uniform again as a young. I miss it. I miss it, Colonel Cunningham. So as I said, I was going to attempt to be good. I was going to be brief, and now I'm going to be seated.
The oath of office was introduced on 29 September in 1789 in the United States, and it's only been modified 2 times since 1884. Its words mark a promise that these leaders are making in front of you all to their country. At this time, Captain Stratton will administer the oath of office for the following cadets. Cadets Tuttle, Chen, DeGeorge, Pomeran, Kranzberg, and Cadet Lockett.
you don't mind me just taking about a minute and a half. I've done this oath many times, and this is one of my most proudest. You probably hear that a lot from various different people, but as this is my last assignment in the military, watching you guys grow, what you've accomplished this past year means a lot to me. I remember my day when I commissioned, really as if it were yesterday. I'm in the same uniform. Take a look around and take it all in. Really, you're gonna remember this day the rest of your life. And it's a very proud moment. Through all of our LPD sessions on Fridays, our second lieutenant thoughts, give that another read if you need a little bit of a giggle. Our foxhole conversation, the 5 levels of leadership, commitment, extreme ownership, SILS, the OODA loop, and the last one, which I think you've heard me say this before, is this takes precedence over all of this. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Without further ado, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Carolyn Tuttle,
I, Kevin Shin.
I, Matthew DeGeorge.
I, Joseph Pomeran.
I, Michael Kransberg.
I, Justin Balcom.
Have been appointed to second lieutenant
Have been appointed as second lieutenant
in the United States Army.
in the United States Army.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
At this time, Major Trucillo will administer the oath of office for the following cadets: Cadet Shapiro, Abella, Benkert, and Perner.
I state your name. I, Victoria Shapiro,
I, Tristan Abella,
I, Jared Benkert.
I, Sean Perner.
having been appointed as a second lieutenant in the United States Army,
having been appointed as a second lieutenant in the United States Army,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I'll bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I'll bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without mental reservation
without mental
or
reservation
purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office of which I'm about to enter.
of the office of which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
At this time, Captain Schmidt will administer the oath of office for Cadet Schmidt.
I state your full name,
I, Josh Willie Schmidt,
having been appointed a second lieutenant
having been appointed as second lieutenant
in the United States Army,
in the United States Army,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same.
that I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Cunningham will swear the oath of office for Cadet Shaft.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Leighton Schapp,
Having been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Army,
having been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Army,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
At this time, Major Cato will administer the oath of office for Cadet Benjamin.
You ready? All right. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Rebecca Benjamin,
Have been appointed a second lieutenant
have been appointed as second lieutenant
in the United States Army.
in the United States Army.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will
support and defend
support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic,
And I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same.
and allegiance to the same,
That I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will
and that I will
well and faithfully
well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office in which I'm about to enter.
of the office which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Warner will administer the oath of office for Cadet Warner.
I state your name.
I, Cassidy Warner,
Having been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Army,
having been appointed as a second lieutenant in the United States Army,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Yes, right.
At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Falconberry will administer the oath of office for Cadet Pimentel.
I, Jenna Pimentel,
having been appointed a second lieutenant
having been appointed as second lieutenant
in the United States Army,
in the United States Army,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
that
that I will bear true faith
I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge
the duties of the office
of
which I'm about to enter.
I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Good job.
At this time, Captain Hess will administer the oath of office for Cadet Hess.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Levi S.,
Having been appointed a second lieutenant
having been appointed a second lieutenant
in the United States Army,
in the United States Army,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
and that I take this obligation freely
and I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Selected family and friends, please come forward to pin the bars promoting Cadet Tuttle to the grade of second lieutenant. Chaplain candidate Tuttle is attending Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary in order to gain her master's in divinity in Christian counseling and enter the chaplain corps. She is supported by her fiance Jonathan and parents Greg and Karen Tuttle. To complete their transition from cadet to commissioned officer of the United States Army, these second lieutenants will receive their customary first salute, recognizing the valuable role the non-commissioned officer has and will play in the officer's career. In keeping with this Army tradition, Sergeant First Class McAlexander will render Second Lieutenant Tuttle her first salute. Selected family and friends, please come forward to pin the bars, promoting Cadet Chen to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant Chen is a fisheries, wildlife conservation biology major and commissioning into the Army Reserves as an ordnance officer. He is thankful for the support from his father, mother, and brother. tradition, Sergeant First Class McAlexander will render Second Lieutenant Chen his first salute.
Congratulations.
Selected family and friends, please come forward to pin the bars promoting Cadet DeGeorge to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant DeGeorge is a Distinguished Honor Graduate, which is the highest national award presented to graduated seniors in ROTC, awarded to the top 20% of cadets nationwide. As an Arabic foreign language major and commissioning into active duty as an infantry officer, he will report to Infantry Officer Leadership Training Course at Fort Benning on September 26. Today, he is supported by his mother and father, Kim and Frank DeGeorge. With Army tradition, Sergeant First Class Grassini will render Second Lieutenant DeGeorge his first salute. Selected family and friends, please come forward to pin the bars, promoting Cadet Palmer into the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant Palmer is graduating with a business administration degree with a marketing concentration. He is commissioning into active duty as a field artillery officer, spending the summer giving back as he will be a cadre member at Fort Knox for cadet summer training. He reports to Fort Sill, Oklahoma in August to begin field artillery bullet. Joining him today are his parents, Leonard and Suzanne Palmer, and his grandmother, Mrs. Susan Friel. With Army tradition, Command Sergeant Major Fancher will render Second Lieutenant Palmer his first salute. Selected family and friends, please come forward to pin the bars, promoting Cadet Kransberg to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant Kransberg is a political science major and commissioning into active duty as an infantry officer. He is thankful for his parents, Mr. Alan Kransberg and Mrs. Sandra Kransberg, as well as his friends and mentors. With Army tradition, Sergeant First Class McAlexander will render Second Lieutenant Kransberg his first salute. Family and friends, please come forward to pin the bars, promoting Cadet Bacham to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant Bauckham is a business administration major, SMP participant, and commissioning into active duty as an infantry officer. He will report to Fort Benning in February 2022. He is supported here today by his family and girlfriend, Hannah. In keeping with Army tradition, Sergeant First Class Corsini will render Second Lieutenant Bauckham his first salute. Selected family and friends, please come forward to pin the bars, promoting Cadet Shapiro to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant Shapiro is a Green to Gold Scholarship recipient, a distinguished honor graduate, and is a nutrition major. She is commissioning into the Medical Service Corps. She is being supported today by her father, Howard Shapiro, and stepmother, Annette Shapiro. She previously served 10 years enlisted time as a human intelligence collector. She'll be preparing to attend Medical Services Corps Bullock this upcoming July and follow on training with the Military Baylor University Graduate Program in Nutrition to serve as a registered dietitian. In keeping with Army tradition, Command Sergeant Major Watson will render Second Lieutenant Shapiro her first salute. Selected family and friends, please come forward to pin the bars. Promoting Cadet Abella to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant Abella is a distinguished honor graduate and will graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. He is commissioning into the Army Reserves as an aviation officer in Fort Carson, Colorado. Army tradition, Specialist Miter will render Second Lieutenant Abella his first salute. Selected family and friends, please come forward and pin the bars. Promoting Cadet Benkirk to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant Benkirk is an aerospace engineering major and entering the Army as a signal officer. He joined the Army through the Split Ops program in high school and has been with the North Carolina 196 Signal Company for the last 4 years. He is supported by his mother, Nancy, and his father, James. Tradition, Sergeant First Class McAlexander will render Second Lieutenant Benkirk his first salute. friends, please come forward to pin the bars. Rotc Cadet Perner to the grade of second lieutenant. Lieutenant Perner's communication Communication Public Relations major and entered in the North Carolina State National Guard as an Apache pilot. He is supported by his mother, father, and brother, Tammy, Andrew, and Shane. In keeping with Army traditions, Sergeant First Class Alexander will render Second Lieutenant Perner his first salute. Selected family and friends, please come forward to pin the bars. Rotc Cadet Schmidt to the grade of second lieutenant. Lieutenant Schmidt is a distinguished honor graduate and is graduating with a degree in nutrition science. He is entering active duty as an armor officer and will be attending Pollock this July. In attendance are his mother, father, and brother. His father served 24 years in the United States Marine Corps, and his brother is currently serving in the North Carolina Guard as a signal officer.
Never see me in front of my friends, Mom.
You gotta practice with me, Mom.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's pretty hard.
She got the hard side.
Sorry.
Army tradition, Master Sergeant Retired Schmidt will render Second Lieutenant Schmidt his first salute. Selected family and friends, please come forward and pin the bars. Promoting Cadet Schapp to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant Schapp is a distinguished undergraduate in a business major concentrating in supply chain management, graduated cum laude. He is entering active duty as an engineer officer, detailed as an infantry officer. Lieutenant Schapp served 6 years with the North Carolina National Guard, 3 years as a combat engineer with the 883rd Sapper Company, and 3 years as an SMP candidate with Bravo Company, 1st and the 20th Special Forces. He is joined by his wife, Hannah, and his daughter, Haley, who have supported him in his military endeavors. In keeping with Army traditions, our First Class Cassini will render Second Lieutenant Schapp his first salute. Selected family and friends, please come forward and pin the bars. Promoting Cadet Benjamin to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Benjamin is a zoology major, commissioning in the North Carolina National Guard as an ordnance officer. She has been in the National Guard for 2 years, first as RSP and then in the 1st of the 130th Battalion Echo Company. She's been supported by her parents, her sister, her cadre, and her people in the ROTC. She'll be heading to Fort Lee, Virginia for Bullock and then going to the 626 Maintenance Company in Newton, North Carolina as a platoon leader. Keeping with Army tradition, Sergeant First Class Crescini will render Second Lieutenant Benjamin her first salute. Selected family and friends, please come forward and pin the bars and promote Cadet Warner to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant Warner is graduating from Meredith College with a bachelor's in psychology. She is commissioning into the United States Army Reserves and will serve as a Medical Corps officer in the 7458th Medical Operations Unit located in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. She is currently applying to graduate school to become an occupational therapist with plans to begin in August of 2022. Lieutenant Warner is supported by her mom, Sonia Warner, and dad, Lieutenant Colonel retired Tim Warner, twin sister Jasmine, and brother Austin. Keeping with Army tradition, Sergeant First Class McAlexander will render Second Lieutenant Warner her first salute.
Congratulations.
Selected family and friends, please come forward to pin the bars, promoting Cadet Pimentel to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant Pimentel is a psychology major, commissioning into the United States Army Reserves as a signal officer. Sergeant Pimentel will render Second Lieutenant Pimentel our first salute. Selected family and friends, please come forward and pin the bars, promoting Cadet Hess to the grade of Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant Hess is a business administration major commissioning into the active duty armors and armor officer. Lieutenant Hess would like to thank his family for always supporting him and pushing him to be his best. He would also like to thank all of the cadre for their constant mentorship and leadership over the last 4 years. In keeping with Army tradition, Sergeant First Class McAlexander will render Second Lieutenant Hess his first salute. Will the newly commissioned lieutenants please rise and present yourselves to be recognized? Ladies and gentlemen, I present you the 16th newest members of the United States Army Officer Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of the Army song.
Forgot about that.
March along, sing our song. We're the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. And the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won. And the army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong. Wherever you go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Guests are invited to attend a reception through the double doors behind you. Thank you for attending today's commissioning ceremony. Go Pack.